Magic with borrowed objects is the purest form of magic that never fails to get insane reactions. With the mind of Alan Morrison, we present you a Sharpie through any borrowed bill effect for the everyday working magician. Ever since the legendary David Copperfield performed Misled on stage, it quickly became an icon for penetration effects. Many magicians have published their approach to this very effect with different methodology, and most require additional gimmicks to carry. That is, until now.
Do you see this?
Yes.
What it is? It's a Sharpie sandwich. Sign your name. Sign your name. You sign your name, yeah? You guys can see the name? Alright, check it out. 3, 2, 1.
Their signed bill can immediately be handed back for examination.
Check it out, guys!
With nothing extra to carry, and as long as you have your Sharpie in your pocket, you have a secret weapon at your disposal to kill anytime and anywhere. You don't want to miss this. Get it now, worldwide.
Hey guys, it's Herman here from Sans Minds Magic, and welcome to the explanation. Now, first off, I actually want to thank you guys for picking up this project and supporting us here. Now, as you already know, this is a modern approach to the iconic Misled effect, which has been popularized by David Copperfield himself. There's legendary performances. And now you can do it yourself with an ordinary Sharpie marker. Now, what you're about to learn today was actually from our good friend, Alan Morrison, a very, very creative mind, which I think you already know who he is. He's a consultant for a lot of top celebrity magicians, and he's created a lot of amazing effects. This one, what you're about to learn today, being one of them. Now, what's really awesome about this effect is that once you know the secret and you've prepped your Sharpie, all you gotta do is just leave it in your pocket and you're always ready to go. You can even use it as an ordinary Sharpie, and you don't even need to perform the effect. It's just in your pocket. But until you see that the moment is right and you want to jump on that opportunity where you want to perform this killer solid through solid effect, then you can do so anytime you wish. And it doesn't take up any pocket space. It's your everyday Sharpie marker that just sits in your pocket. And the visual is just absolutely stunning. It looks absolutely impossible, and you get a lot of amazing reactions. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the performance.
Check it out, this is Sharpie. Oh, be careful, this is really sharp. You can cut through anything. I'm not even kidding, check it out. If I do like this, guess what this is? It's a Sharpie sandwich. How about this? You just take a pen and sign your initial just on the top, just on top of here. Make sure everyone can see your initial, yeah? Right? Yeah, you guys all can see it? Perfect. Okay, cool. Let me have this thing back. Check it out, you guys are not gonna believe this. Are you ready for this? Check it out. You sign your name, yeah? You guys can see the name? Alright, check it out. 3, 2, 1. Check it out, guys!
So guys, let's go over the secret of the effect. Now that you've watched the performance, let's go over how it's all done. Now in the main handling, of course, we'll go in detail in terms of how to get into the position and everything, but the secret actually lies in this cap. Okay, so this is a normal Sharpie marker. As I mentioned before, you can use it as an ordinary, normal, everyday Sharpie marker, but the cap is actually prepared beforehand where there's a slit just right over here and right over here. Now, it's a little bit hard to catch on camera. Let me see if we can just bring that closer. Now these prepared slits allow me to create the illusion that the entire Sharpie marker can pass through the borrowed bill. But talking about this particular cap right over here, there are 3 stripes on top, meaning that this belongs to a Sans Minds Sharpie marker. Now if you already have a Sans Minds Sharpie marker, then I highly recommend that you prepare it with that as well, because instead of a 3-in-1 marker, it becomes a 4-in-1 marker. How amazing does that sound? That means that you can use your marker as a permanent ink marker, a dry erase marker, a moving ink marker, and now a penetration marker, and you just leave it in your pocket and you're ready to perform. But let's go back to talking about the illusion. With these 2 very thin slits, it allows you to create the illusion that looks like the Sharpie is actually between the fold of the bill, just like this. Now what's actually happening is, let me just go over the secret. With the cap is actually going to get in a position where it is between the two slits, just like that. So from an exposed angle, this is what it looks like. So from here, when you're taking the Sharpie back, because they just signed their name across the face of the bill, you're going to pretend that you're putting it back between the fold of the bill, but actually, from an exposed angle, this is what it looks like. It's just hanging on to the back of the bill over here. From the front, let me show you how it looks like, okay? So all you're doing is just holding onto the Sharpie, just like this, and without a doubt, this looks like the Sharpie is, you know, between the fold of the bill, but it's all presentation from here. You can blow on it, soften the fibers, whatever your presentation is, and then when you're ready to perform the effect, slowly tilt and make it look like it's passing through the bill, and then quickly, just like that, you can see that it's a normal borrowed and signed bill that you can hand out immediately. And that's the secret of the effect. So to prepare your very own Sharpie, all you need is a Sharpie marker. It can be an ordinary one or a Sans Mine Sharpie marker, in which case I'm using, so I can make it like a Swiss Army knife marker thing, and also a pair of scissors. Now, that's all you're gonna need. And over here, I've already drawn exactly where you want to cut with a silver Sharpie marker. So there's one over here and one over here. Now in terms of determining where you want to cut, now you don't want to cut it dead center, okay? Now it depends actually how you want the Sharpie marker to be facing. So if you're having the clip facing out, like what Alan likes to do, then you actually want to have the lines a little bit closer to the clip, just by a little bit. Now, if you're like me, then it really doesn't matter actually which way the clip is facing, but determine now before you actually prepare your cap. Because in this case, if I have the cap facing this way, I don't want the lines to be dead center. I actually want it a little bit closer to the outside. So as you can see, it's not dead center, it's a little bit off. So same goes with my other side, right over here, flip it around. It's a little bit closer to this side. Okay, and what that allows is for a little bit more room for the Sharpie to cap back into the cap so it's not too tight when it's hanging onto the bill. Uncap your Sharpie marker, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your pair of scissors, okay? And you're gonna run it deep, right over here, and you're gonna start cutting on the left a little bit, okay? Now be careful, cut very slowly. Now even if the Sharpie cap were to crack a little bit, it's still okay. You wanna cut approximately up until here. Now, as you can see from my drawing, this is approximately 1 centimeter, and that's kind of where generally you want to cut to in terms of depth. You don't want to cut it too much, and you don't want to cut it too little either. And what's going to happen is you're going to move this pair of scissors from that cut a little over. Now, a little over meaning about actually 1.5 millimeters. You want it a very thin slit, okay? You don't want to make it too wide, just a very, very thin slit. Now, even from this drawing, it's a little bit too wide, so I'm just moving it over a little bit, just right over here, and I'm going to cut it in to the same depth, and those 2 points are kind of going to meet right over here. Now if they don't, that's okay too. Now it's really hard to see on camera because it's very minute, but right now I still feel like I need to cut a little bit more, starting from here, just like that. Now as you can see, even if it cracks a little bit, it's okay, and I'm basically going to peel this off. As you can see, this is the remainder piece. Very thin, you can just throw that away. And this is the slit that it leaves with. I know it's really hard to see on camera. Now, as I mentioned before, if you happen to crack the cap a little bit, it's still okay as long as you have the slit to this, approximately this amount of depth. And you're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. Remember, catering a little bit closer to one side, the side that's facing the audience. So one more time. Now if it doesn't come off easily, you can always twist it a little bit, or you can just run your pair of scissors and cut it off, but those are the 2 slits that you need. So if I were to bring a bill in, all I gotta do is make sure that the clip is facing me, and I'm gonna run the bill into the 2 slits that I just made, and this is a great amount of depth. This is the perfect amount for you to cap your Sharpie in, and you can test it right now once you've made those 2 slits, and you can see that. Look at that. It hangs right there perfectly. Now, of course, you don't want it too tight. just make sure that, if you cut it too little, I guess, then it would hang like this. And this is very fragile. So that's why about 1 centimeter is pretty much where you want it. So if I were to actually put it a little bit deeper, just like that, doesn't need to go all the way, but now it feels very easy for you to execute the move. And this, all you gotta do is cap it on your Sharpie. This sits in your pocket and you're always ready to go. So at this point, you have your prepared Sharpie marker sitting in your pocket. You can use it as an ordinary Sharpie marker. Maybe you don't even want to perform the effect today. It doesn't matter, it just sits in your pocket. But you see that the moment is finally right where you want to perform this amazing penetration effect. You definitely can. You just ask for a borrow bill. Doesn't really matter what bill, any bill will work. Over here I have a American dollar bill right over here. What's gonna happen is you're gonna take that bill, okay, and you're gonna fold it in half. Okay, just like this. Now, the thing is, when you're folding this bill, of course you don't want to fold it like this, okay? You can start off like this, but what you want to actually do is push it over so that the back half is facing the way that the cap is going to be facing. So in this case, I'm going to be putting the Sharpie in this particular direction, meaning I'm pushing off to the right, just like that. So you wouldn't want to do it like this, for example. So this would not be good. Okay. So when you take the bill, fold it in half, push it off to the right, if your cap is facing to the right, because this is the way that I'm going to introduce Sharpie and put it between the bill, just like this. So once you take the bill and you folded it, introduce your Sharpie marker. It's an ordinary Sharpie marker, but you don't need to point that out because all they're gonna do is sign the bill afterwards. So once you take out your Sharpie marker, what you're gonna do is you're gonna say watch. I'm just gonna place it in between the bill, just like that. Now, an important thing is the orientation of the Sharpie as well. Now, in this case, remember that in our preparation section, we talked about which way the cap would be facing. Now, in this case, when I'm placing the Sharpie in between the bill, just like this, the cap is facing towards me. Now, Alan, as I said before, likes to have it so that it's like so, but it doesn't really matter as long as you prepared it in a way where you remember which way the cap should be facing. Sorry, the clip should be facing. So in this case, it's facing towards me. So this is a nice clean visual of the Sharpie. So when I show it both sides, it's very important that you do show both sides though, because you want them to register this image, that the Sharpie is actually between the bill, and you say that, oh, before actually showing anything, I actually want you to go ahead and take the Sharpie marker. Now, when I do that, do pay attention that I'm holding on to the cap with my right hand. So my right hand comes over, it grips onto the cap. I'm holding the bill and the cap with my right hand, and I'm going to uncap the Sharpie while holding the bill and the cap still in this position, so just like this. So they don't really see the cap, which is fine. And you're gonna hand this over to your spectator. And while you're instructing them to basically sign the face of the bill, or you can crack a joke at this time, which gives you a little bit of extra time for you to do the secret move, okay? Now the secret move is where the slits come into play. So when your hands naturally come together, the secret move is you're going to basically bring the cap out from between the fold of the bill, and you're basically going to feed the slits to the back layer of the bill, the back half, just like that. So now you're gripping onto the bill in this position. Now if I show you just an exposed angle, as you can see, it's between the slit that you made earlier, and it's all hidden behind your hand while still holding onto the cap and the bill. And this is when you turn it around and have them sign the bill, the face of the bill, while you're still holding all of this as one unit. When you take the Sharpie back, you're going to pretend to feed it between the fold, but what's actually happening is you're just going to casually bring the Sharpie back behind the bill so that you can insert the Sharpie marker into the cap just like that. And now you can reveal that it looks like it's in between the bill. Now, while we're still here, I want to quickly talk about how you're capping the Sharpie marker. Now, when you're capping it and you're bringing the Sharpie marker to the cap and putting it in, you don't want to cap it all the way. You don't want to have it so it's so tightly capped in a way where, there's no lee room for you to help slowly melt the Sharpie marker through the bill. So what you actually want is to not cap it all the way, just kind of loose, just like that, but still tight enough where it'll stay together, and this is the position you're in an exposed angle. Now let's take it a step back again, okay, starting from here, where you just showed that the Sharpie marker is actually between the bill. And it's very important that you are showing this because you want them to register this image. The Sharpie is actually between the fold of the bill. And this is when you say, oh, before I do anything, go ahead and take the Sharpie marker and be careful with it. It is sharp, it's a Sharpie marker, haha. You get a couple jokes there. Or what Alan likes to say is that because he has a lot of insane tattoos, he says, oh, be careful with the Sharpie marker, you know, the ink spills, and this is exactly how I got my tattoos. Or something along those lines, whatever fits your presentation. But during that time, that's when the Sharpie marker is already in their hands, and your hands naturally come together, and then you get into position, and that's it. Now, getting into position will take a little bit of time. It is a bit of a knack at first because it is hard to find the slits at first. But all that's happening is you're just bringing your hands together very naturally as you're talking to them because no focus is on the bill itself. You're gonna say, oh, just, you know, be careful with the Sharpie marker, and I want you to go ahead and sign your name nice and big on the face of the bill. And at that point, they can sign the bill. If they need a surface, just use your hand. And once they've signed the bill, you take the Sharpie back. And let me show you that one more time from the front. What you're doing is just bringing the Sharpie back and then capping it back. Now, once you take your Sharpie back, let me quickly talk about how you're going to basically cap the Sharpie back. You take the marker and you're going to basically show a little bit, just like that, and you're going to bring the Sharpie back just like that, and it's going to look like you're naturally putting it between the bill and capping it back just like that. But what's happening is that in an exposed angle, you already have it in its ready position behind the bill. So let's go through that one more time. It's very casual. All you're doing is just make it seem like you're putting it between the bill and then you're capping the Sharpie marker. But what's actually happening is you're putting it behind the bill, just like that. So now you're in the ready position to execute the effect. But before you actually do it, I want to quickly talk about how you don't want to undersell this effect, this magical moment, because what's happening is this very, very solid object is about to pass their borrowed bill very slowly. And you want to do it very slowly because you want it to look like it's slowly melting through the bill. Now, you don't want to do it quick, otherwise it just happens and they can't even register the image. Now, this image itself is very beautiful. It actually looks like the Sharpie marker is hanging, you know, between the fold of the bill, in between the bill. And you've already given that image to register where they saw the back of the bill as well. So you've already done this. Now, of course, you can't do that now, but they've already seen that visual, and then now they see this familiar visual again, where you can now slowly, and it's all presentation, you want to build up that magical moment, maybe you're softening the fibers, whatever works with the presentation. And when you're ready to do the penetration, do it very slow so it looks like it's melting through the bill. Now make sure that when you are performing this, that you're not covering this little section over here, the cap, okay? You don't want to use your finger and cover that little passing moment right over here. You actually want to show that visual so it looks like, and it looks very convincing that is passing, that the Sharpie marker, sorry, is passing through the bill. But from here, let me actually show it to the other camera. What's going to happen is you're going to basically bring your middle finger in a quick motion so that the Sharpie goes into your hand, just like that. And it looks like that swift motion is that final moment where the Sharpie passes through the bill, and you can now show that the bill has no tear in it. And you can hand this out immediately, and it is there, borrowed and signed bill, as I mentioned before. Now, you don't want to do it too fast. Otherwise, it may snag and catch onto the bill, and it might even tear the bill. So you want to do it quickly, but not too slowly, because remember that the cap is not fully on the marker. So taking a step back from here, you just did the penetration, and your Sharpie's in your hand right now. Now, this isn't tightly capped, so you can use your thumb and cap it together, and then you just put it in your back pocket because all the attention is on the bill right now. Either you've unfolded it or it's still folded like so. Now, what Jason likes to do is he actually likes to keep it folded, just like this, because the attention is shifted from the performer to the audience when you hand this out. And basically, it's almost like the magic isn't complete yet, because once you did that pass, that penetration, you hand it and say, oh, be careful, take a look. And then you give that moment to the spectator to blow on it, and then unfold it themselves to see that there really is no tear on their borrowed and signed bill. That's pretty much it. Now your Sharpie's in your pocket, and you're basically instant reset if you want to perform it again, if you're doing a table hop. But as you can see, it is very, very easy to do, and you're left absolutely clean. Now, I know what you're asking me, Herman, what if they want to see the Sharpie marker itself? Well, first of all, no attention is on the Sharpie itself, because the attention should be on the bill that you just handed over to the spectator, and they're making sure it's a normal bill. Because that entire solid Sharpie has just passed through their bill. And not only did they just handle the Sharpie to sign the bill so they know it's a normal Sharpie? But if you really want to, you can actually hand this entire unit to the spectator anyways, because as I mentioned before, you can use this as an ordinary Sharpie marker anyways when you hand it to the spectator, where they're signing their card for a card routine, whatever it is. If they were to feel the cap, they're just going to think it's like a crack or something like that, because it's two very thin slits, and no one's going to think, hey, this is the secret of the effect. How are they supposed to backtrack the entire Sharpie passing through the bill just through something like this, as minute as this? If they haven't been playing with a lot of Sharpies or anything like that, they might even think that all Sharpies have that slit. But Alan has even handed out his Sharpie before, and no one has ever called out on it because it's so minute. They can't backtrack it to the entire Sharpie passing through their board bill. So don't worry about that. But if you are feeling really nervous and you don't want to hand out that same Sharpie that you're performing with, then alternatively, you can have a duplicate Sharpie on you as well in your back pocket. So if they were to look at it and they're like, hey, how about the Sharpie? Can I take a look at that? You can bring out the second Sharpie, which is completely normal, and that's it. You're absolutely clean. Now, a quick tip before I wrap the section up, though, is that when you are performing this because you're using a black Sharpie marker, I would not suggest wearing black, because you want that nice visual contrast between the cap and the entire Sharpie and the bill. So what I'm wearing right now, gray, white, is great, so you can see the actual passing. Now, if it's black on black, then it doesn't look as good. That's just a very quick tip. It's not mandatory to perform this effect, but it's a quick little idea for you before you actually perform this effect. But as I mentioned before, because the Sharpie marker is probably always on you and it takes absolutely no pocket space, you can perform it anytime you wish with no limitations. You just borrow a bill and you perform this amazing miracle right before their very eyes. But guys, that is pretty much it. Now, just like with all effects, be sure that you do put in the practice it in front of a mirror. Just understand how it looks like when you are putting the Sharpie back into its ready position, so you can take a look at the visual and practice it yourself. Now, not only that, you want to practice making everything very natural, part of your body language. As I mentioned before, do practice putting the bill into the slit very naturally, very casually. Remember that all the attention is towards you when you're talking to the spectator, so that when your hands naturally come together, you're just casually putting it in the slit, and then you ask them to sign the bill. That's it, guys. That is how you perform the effect. So guys, that is it. This is the end of the DVD. I know you guys are going to have lots of fun when you perform this effect. As you already know by now, it's very easy to prepare, it is very easy to perform, and it is very convenient as well. All this is an ordinary Sharpie marker that just sits in your pocket, and you can use it as your everyday Sharpie marker until the moment is right. Again, this effect was created by our good friend, Alan Rorison. Now, as usual, stay tuned to us at Sans Minds. We've got some amazing stuff coming out, especially from Alan Rorison, some secret projects coming out as well that you're gonna really love. And again, that's it. My name is Herman, and I'll see you guys next time.